Professor M. Sandoval's headlamp danced across the exposed brickwork, the stench of damp earth clinging to the air. The storm that had ravaged the Tuscan countryside days before had unearthed this forgotten tomb, its entrance half buried beneath a fallen oak. Sandoval, his weathered face creased with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, carefully clambered through the opening. Inside, the air hung heavy with the silence of ages. The professor, an archaeologist by trade and an adventurer by heart, surveyed the chamber. Cobwebs draped dusty statues, the remnants of offerings long forgotten. A single shaft of sunlight pierced through a crack in the ceiling, illuminating a small, ornately carved chest nestled against the far wall. He approached with cautious reverence, his gloved fingers brushing away centuries of dust. The intricate carvings on the chest depicted figures writhing in agony, a scene both unsettling and captivating. With a deep breath, he lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, lay a sheet of parchment. Unlike the brittle yellow documents he usually encountered, this one seemed strangely vibrant. As Sandoval unfolded it, a crimson stain spread across the center, surrounded by a network of swirling black lines. It wasn't a map, nor a historical record. It was music. Music titled, in a language he didn't recognize, "On Mount Golgotha." He traced a finger along the crimson stain, a metallic tang suddenly sharp in his nostrils. Blood. This wasn't ink, it was blood. But whose? The tremor that seized Sandoval wasn't entirely physical. As he stared at the blood-stained composition, a sense of dread crawled up his spine. A melody, faint yet insistent, seemed to hum just beyond his hearing. He shook his head, attributing it to the oppressive silence of the tomb. Carefully, he rolled the parchment, the crimson stain chilling his fingers even through the gloves. Back at the dig site, Sandoval eagerly relayed his find to the Foundation containment specialist, Agent Ramirez. A tense silence followed as Ramirez examined the composition. His face drained of color as he recognized the markings, standard Foundation protocol for anomalous artifacts.
"Professor,"
he said, his voice low,
"we need to get this thing out of here. Now."
2 Foundation agents were assigned to transport SCP-012. The drive back was uneventful, or so they thought. As they neared the secure facility, an unsettling silence descended upon the vehicle. One agent, a burly man named Ramirez, glanced at his partner, Miller, who was staring intently ahead, a sheen of sweat on his brow.
"Miller, you all right?"
Ramirez asked, his voice breaking the oppressive silence. Miller didn't answer. He fumbled with the latch on the containment box holding SCP-012, his movements jerky and frantic.
"Hey!"
Ramirez snapped, reaching for the box, but it was too late. Miller ripped it open, the crimson stain on the parchment seeming to pulsate in the weak light of the dashboard. A distorted, horrifying melody filled the car, a cacophony that defied description. Ramirez screamed as he clawed at his ears, the sound twisting his mind like a corkscrew. Miller, his eyes glazed over, reached for a shard of glass from the shattered containment box. The scene that greeted the responding Foundation team was one of chilling carnage. Ramirez lay slumped over, his face contorted in a silent scream. Miller, his arms slick with blood, stared blankly at the composition, a single jagged note scrawled in his own blood beneath the original score. It was then they realized the true horror of SCP-012. It wasn't just a musical anomaly, it was a malevolent entity that used music as a weapon, twisting minds and driving victims to complete its maddening symphony with their own blood.
During the first experiments at Site 19, a few subjects were allowed to see the composition on the scroll. The subjects tried to complete the composition by constantly hurting themselves. Those who tried to complete the composition using their own blood suffered serious blood loss. There were subjects who only completed part of the composition. However, these subjects claimed that it was almost impossible to complete the composition and committed suicide. As a result of playing the completed part, a meaningless and completely noisy pile of music emerged. Additionally, no instrument was found suitable to play this composition. In accordance with special containment procedure, it has been decided that SCP-012 will be kept in a dark room at all times. and that if the object is exposed to light or viewed by personnel using a light frequency other than infrared, personnel will be immediately subjected to mental health screening.